Alright, in this video I've got a lot to cover and I hope you'll stay tuned because I think it's very important. Today I'll be covering the painting by Leonardo da Vinci, The Last Supper. Now this is a very important work of art that's been covered numerous times by others in the Mandela Effect community, and there have been many changes so far to this painting that many people have noticed. Now, over the years, I haven't really scrutinized every detail of this painting to, notice, what may have or may have not changed over the years. But now I am laser focused on it because I have definitely seen some major changes in just the past couple weeks. And I don't know what you'll think about this, but right now, I just want you to pause for a moment and conjure an image in your mind of what this painting looked like. And I'm going to call this an anchor point video because there are so many changes upon changes that other people are noticing about other people's coverage of this painting as it changes and changes again that I want you to pay attention to this because who knows, someday in the future, you might come back and review this video and this content may have changed. Just like other people are noticing previous people's content having changed. Now I'm briefly going to describe this painting as I remember it and the subsequent Mandela Effect changes that many people have reported since that time period. So what I remember of this painting is, an intimate setting between Jesus and his disciples. There's a broad, spread out table with all the disciples, from left to right, and Jesus in the center. And there's also been, the coverage of this painting from the movie and book, the Da Vinci Code, which I watched, and I loosely remember details from that. And many of those details have changed over the years in my experience. So what I recall is that this was like I said, an intimate setting, and it was definitely at night. This was a enclosed room. You couldn't see that many details in the background. It did appear to be illuminated by some kind of candle or torchlight. That's what I recall. I do recall that the chalice, the Holy Grail, was on the table. You could see it in front of Jesus. This was in the movie, I didn't read the book, but in the movie, the Da Vinci Code, and, it goes on to talk about the Holy Grail and the fact that, we're focused on the wrong thing. The Holy Grail was actually Mary Magdalene, who's actually in the painting. Da Vinci painted John, but actually was painting Mary Magdalene because of the feminine features that John seems to portray in the painting. Well, anyway, you can learn about all those details by watching the movie or reading the book. But the fact that, yes, I remember in the movie, the Grail was on the table. And now it's not. And it's even highlighted in several scenes that, yes, the Grail is absent in physical form. Now, as I describe these details, I want you to check your own memory of this painting. Is that what you remember? Do you recall this as being a somewhat intimate setting with Jesus and the disciples? Definitely in the evening, definitely sometime after sundown, because there's appeared to be no ambient light coming from outdoors. Is that what you recall? Now, I'm going to transition to a video that I recently watched from the YouTube channel Once Upon a Timeline. Now, Eva is excellent at covering a lot of details, remembering, recounting her recall of certain details and presenting them to the audience. And I am so grateful that she did some of these tiny little details, which today, I can't find anyone who will corroborate, my recollection of the painting, let alone some change that has happened upon another change, multiple successions of changes. So I'll just go ahead and let her describe what she has seen. in the changing to this painting, not only to the painting, but her watching someone else's video coverage, Moneybag73, of this painting. So let's take a look.
Hi, this is Eva with Once Upon a Timeline, and today we're going to discuss recent changes to the art known as The Last Supper, as well as some changes to a video by Moneybag73 talking about other older changes. Okay, so here's The Last Supper, and the recent change is also in somebody else's video from about a month ago, is this weird door here. Apparently in this timeline, a door was cut into the wall that The Last Supper is painted on, and now you can see this weird chunk missing out of the painting. Okay, I've never seen this before. I just had it brought to my attention recently. But I'm looking at the whole thing here, and I was researching it. Now, some of the things that people have also said, and I also remember this, that you didn't used to be able to see these feet down here. This tablecloth used to be long. You just see the people across the top. Another change is that it took place in a candlelit room full of wood. There wasn't all these panels, doors, the room was smaller. I mean, this looks like a kind of a wealthy person's room. The old Last Supper, I remember, it looked like a table kind of wedged into a much smaller room that didn't have all this depth, that didn't have all these panels. There was, I think I remember there's some flaming torches in there before, and it looked like it happened at night. There was not these back windows back here at all. I don't remember this kind of looks like a plaster or cement construction here. It was a wooden room. It looked a lot more humble and plain and ordinary back then. Okay, so the video that I was looking at is in this video, he brings up that he sees that the Holy Grail suddenly is sort of in the Last Supper now. Now, the version that I remember of his video is that he says the Holy Grail is now in the Last Supper. Isn't that weird? That's all he talks about in my video. And you'll see it right here. This is the Holy Grail that you see now. But in the original video, there was a Holy Grail in a darker grayish panel, and it really looked like the Holy Grail. I think it might have actually been in like a dark pillar or something. And there was a pattern that looked like the Holy Grail. And the pattern looked like the Holy Grail whether you were close up or far away. In fact, getting close up actually showed it more like the Holy Grail. So now his video, he points out the Holy Grail, it's right here, and he points out that it only looks like the Holy Grail from a distance. It doesn't look like the Holy Grail from close up, and you can see now that it doesn't. It looks like some kind of, I don't know what it is actually. This whole painting just has a bunch of stuff in it that's kind of unidentifiable now. So that video for me has...
Now this is just astounding, because so many things now in this painting appear to have changed recently for me, as she's pointing out these different details. And, you know, the Moneybag73 video, which she says has changed, well, there's a whole bunch of changes now between that video and her video and what I'm seeing today. And I'm going to need some feedback here, because I just don't know who's going to agree or not as to what they're looking at. She is talking about the Grail disappearing from the table, which, okay, that's been pointed out in the Mandela Effect community. The Grail's no longer on the table. Okay. Then someone else in a Facebook post pointed out, just like she was saying, oh, look at that. It's in these tapestries. This isn't a good quality picture here. I'll go on to a much more detailed one, higher resolution, that you can see all the details. But indeed, like, these panels contained a pattern, which, like she said, looked like the Grail. It was pretty large. And I was like, yeah, maybe you could, it definitely looks Grail shaped. It was in there, and I could see it. But I'm like, okay, that's weird. Well, maybe I just missed that. I don't know. I don't really remember these panels or tapestries being in the painting before. And no, there was definitely no recollection of anyone pointing out a Grail in there. But now, at that point, there was. And now she's saying the same thing. Okay, this is great. She corroborates my memory on this, that she also saw the same thing, a Grail shape in this tapestry. And then Moneybag73 is saying, oh no, the Grail's on the wall, which is this object. And all of these things are now recent changes for me. No, this thing wasn't on the wall before. And she's saying about it being an intimate, scene with illuminated by torchlight. She didn't see all the stuff in the background, and definitely not this. Open windows with mountain daylight scenery in the background. Absolutely not. That was not the scene I remember. I remember noting this in my mind. This is an intimate setting in the evening, most likely after sundown, because there is no ambient light coming into the room, and it only appeared to be illuminated by candle or torchlight. And this is nuts. Now, the more I look into this, the more changes I see. So here you can see these 3 windows now in the background. For me, personally, they were not there. Mountain scenery in the middle of the day, as it looks like? No, that was not there before. These panels had a shape of the Grail less than a year ago, about 6 months ago, I want to say. I was looking at a Facebook page post about this. And this thing, no, that wasn't there, and that does look Grail-shaped. I don't remember anybody pointing out something like whatever these things are. So now all these details I've mentioned are new for me. On top of that, this door, I don't remember there ever being a door in the original fresco. That's new. I've never seen this before. Apparently, in like 1652, they cut a door out of the painting, and that's part of it now. I just don't remember that at all. I don't know what you think. Have you seen this door here in the middle of the Last Supper cut into the painting before? Let me know. Now, I want you to pay attention to what's actually on the table and the hand position. Another thing is, I remember Jesus having both of his hands, spread out, palms facing up, I would say, not like this. I don't remember this grabbing motion in Jesus' hand, his right hand. And other people, are talking about this like there's glasses. Do you see this? These are glasses, clear glasses depicted at each disciple's position with some kind of liquid in them, presumably wine. And I just don't remember this at all. Definitely not. No, there weren't clear glasses on the table. And this is interesting because this ties into the scene now in the Da Vinci Code. So let's take a look.
Wine? They drank wine?
Splendid. And one final question. How many wine glasses are there on the table?
One? The Holy Grail?
Open your eyes. No single cup. No chalice. Well, that's a bit strange, isn't it? Considering both the Bible and standard Grail legends celebrate this moment as the definitive arrival of the Holy Grail.
All right, did you catch that? No single cup. No chalice. Well, are you looking at the same painting I am? Because it looks like there's a dozen cups all spread across this table. And like I said, I think the original movie has changed because there was once a chalice, and they did note that there was the Holy Grail in the painting, but they were going to, focus on the fact that they believe that this was Mary Magdalene and not John painted here, and that, she symbolized the Holy Grail. So anyway, there's a lot of these little details that are continuing to change. So let me know if you've noticed this before. Were there clear glass cups on the table before? And it just makes no sense that in the Da Vinci Code they would say that there was no single cup on the table when there clearly are several cups on the table. Now I'm going to cover a few more details and compare them with, if you've seen a reproduction of this scene, of this painting on, a picture in somebody's house or something like that, because you can find many different variations in the scene, which seem contradictory. I just don't know why someone would make a reproduction and have these very contradictory elements inside the paintings that they portray. So note the color of what Jesus is wearing. I just would say I thought it was like maybe white and blue, but here this is the original painting by Da Vinci. Looks like you can't really tell because this image it was degraded so terribly over the centuries, and then it was restored, and who knows what the original details were. There's been his pupils made reproductions, so some people would believe that the reproductions done by his pupils would probably preserve the most accurate details in the painting. So as we compare all these different types of reproductions and over the years, just pay attention to some of these details because it's weird. So look at this stool, this robe, this pitcher. Obviously, this isn't the original looking at all. This is some stylized reproduction that somebody made. But these details show up in a lot of these reproductions. And as you can see, the Grail, it's there. It's right in front of Jesus. So that's also in some of these reproductions, which I would say that this might be residue, showing that whoever made these reproductions knew that the Grail was on the table in the original, so that they put it in these reproductions that they made. So you can pay attention to some of the colors, like what Jesus is wearing. So another one, which you might see in a loved one's house. You can buy these on eBay. The chalice is on the table. Let's also look at his feet because, hey, there was a door cut out. How do you know what his feet look like? So a lot of people are saying that they don't remember seeing the disciples and Jesus' feet in the original, which I can't really say. I don't really remember seeing feet before, but yeah, it looks like he's taking these little mincing steps or sitting cross-legged. By the looks of his foot position. And here, look at this. The Grail moves to a more central position compared to some of these others where the Grail is more towards his left hand. And some of these really look like Jesus is wearing red and blue, which that looks very unfamiliar to me. And in the original, it looks like, well, maybe it could have been a faded red that faded over the years, but who knows what exactly the original color was. Now also pay attention to Jesus' face and his expression. This looks accurate to me. He's kind of looking down and to the left. His mouth is closed, and he has a beard, and yeah. Here's an interesting one where he's holding his right hand up and his finger extended, and he's also wearing white and maybe a bluish or purple looking sash there. No chalice on the table. Red and blue. Bright open windows with a beautiful mountain scenery in the background. Look at all that sunlight coming in the windows there. This is just wrong to me. No. This was an intimate evening Last Supper setting. And here is that stool and that robe thrown over top of it and that pitcher. Like, where are they getting these props from? They're not in the original. And here you can see a lot of these reproductions will show like a tiny little wine cup in where the chalice was. So I don't know. Do these represent different parallel realities where the painting could be slightly different in each one? I just don't know how to explain this. And also pay attention to the position of the disciples. So here you can see Judas holding the money bag. This is Peter behind him. And in Da Vinci's painting, he is kind of in front of, we'll see, Bartholomew, James. Anyway, this other disciple, he's in front of him holding a knife. And in this painting, he's not. He's in the back, and you can't see the knife that he's holding. So here you can see also Peter is in the background. You cannot see his right arm or a knife or anything like. But here's Da Vinci's painting. Here is Peter behind Judas, and he has this knife turned behind him. There's just a subtle discrepancy between these reproductions and the original, which I think is odd. So pay attention to some of these details because they might change again here shortly, even in the future. All right, here's another painting, another reproduction where both of his hands are held upright, which I want to say that seems more familiar to me as compared to his right arm having this grasping motion to it. Now, the other detail I want to point out is some of these, it appears that his right hand is curled backwards. This isn't a very good depiction, but this, I'll get a better one here. Yeah, look at that. His hand is curled backwards. So I don't know. Do these represent some changes where maybe the original could shift to a version that has this hand position instead of the open grasping position? So there could be several different versions, Mandela affected versions that people remember even, where, oh, I remember the hand being open. Oh, I remember the hand being curled backwards. Or like me, where I remember the hand being open and face upwards. So now in looking at all these different versions of the Last Supper, something appeared to change for me in the middle of looking at all these images. And I've heard this before where people describe this happening. In the middle of doing their research, they notice another change happen. And I think I caught this one pretty well because I got ChatGPT to verify what I was looking at, and you'll just have to watch for yourself. So look at Jesus. He's got a beard. His mouth appears to be closed. And I go to look at the original, and I'm like, I'm looking at his expression. This is Da Vinci's painting. Is his mouth open? Oh my goodness. His mouth is open. And when I look at it, like, does he even have a beard? I can't really tell. It almost looks like he's clean shaven. This is weird. Now I'll go back and look at the high resolution images and you can decide for yourself. But of course, who's zooming in with a magnifying glass on these images to see exactly what the details are? But even from a distance, like, I would say you can tell what his expression is. You can tell if he has facial hair or not. And just like these other reproductions, like, they should know, look, you can see he's got a beard. Yes, his mouth is closed. Well, it seems kind of ambiguous here in the original. Does he have facial hair? His mouth appears to be open, and this just appeared to change as I was doing this research. I'm just all of a sudden flip to the image. I'm looking at Da Vinci's painting again. I'm like, his mouth is open. What is going on? So let's look at some of these other reproductions. Obviously, this one, he's got a pretty full beard. His mouth is closed. And this was kind of funny because I picked this one off of a news article that was talking about the Last Supper. I'm like, wait, there's a cat in the picture. I'm like, okay, so somebody digitally inserted a cat. Funny, but they didn't talk about that, in the article I was reading. But then when I was, looking up other, parody versions to see some discrepancies in the details. I saw this one, and they also put a cat in the picture in the same position, just covering Jesus' left hand. I'm like, well, I don't know. Does this constitute, another parallel version that people might remember? Maybe there's some people out there who say, oh, I remember Last Supper having a cat on the table. Who knows? Or could this happen in the future where, hey, the Last Supper, did you know there's a cat on the table? Well, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe that can happen. We'll just wake up one morning, look at the Last Supper, and what do you know? There's a cat on the table. All right, so back to his expression. Once again, red and blue. That doesn't look right. And here you go. His mouth is clearly open. And does he have facial hair? It sure is hard to tell by this image. Here's the original fresco. And it does look kind of red and blue. I don't remember that. That doesn't seem right. Here is an interesting comparison between 1976 and now. So this is what it looked like before it was restored. That doorway almost seems like it's glitching into reality. Like, that looks so strange. Here you can see as it's restored, okay, they clearly define the doorway, but what did it look like before? It almost looks like they tried to blend it in with a painting. Very strange. All right, now let's look at some of these details. All right, here we can see a higher resolution version of Jesus' face. Does it look like he has a beard? This is the original, and you can clearly see the definition in the upper lip, suggesting that, he almost looks clean shaven. His chin, it looks like you can see skin on his chin. It's kind of blurry, so maybe he does have a little bit of a beard. And his mouth obviously is open. So this was interesting because I had to, ask ChatGPT, well, is his mouth, does he have a beard? It says he does. The beard is present, medium length, fairly neat, covers the chin. I would say no, it doesn't cover the chin. Mustache, present, trimmed, and neat. You can't really see a mustache at all, from what I can see. Facial expression. So, mouth is closed, not speaking, slightly pursed. I would agree with that. That's what I remember his expression to be. Not any more. So let's look a little more closely at some of these reproductions. And the bottom left is Da Vinci's original. The bottom right is one of his pupils' reproductions. So this would be considered the most accurate to what the original was, because the original, degraded so much over the years, and this reproduction here by one of his pupils was kept in the most well-preserved state. So, okay, it looks like his mouth is open, and all right, it does look like he has kind of a beard, a wispy, reddish, thin-looking beard. So maybe that's what Da Vinci painted, but this still seems contrary to what most people remember. Like, they would say, yeah, Jesus had a beard in the Last Supper, like this. So it kind of looks like the original painting is changing. Now, this is what Google's AI says about his mouth. Jesus' mouth is open just slightly as he is about to speak. Yes, in Leonardo da Vinci's painting, The Last Supper, Jesus' mouth is slightly open. This is because Leonardo da Vinci intended to capture the moment when Jesus announced that one of his disciples would betray him. The slightly open mouth suggests that Jesus has just finished speaking these words, creating a powerful and poignant image of this dramatic moment. This is new. I don't remember this being part of the consensus at all, that, oh, Jesus is speaking in the Last Supper. What do you recall? Now let's look at some of, okay, this is just an older, I guess, reproduction where, okay, look at that. His mouth is closed, and he's got this thin looking beard, which doesn't really cover the upper lip and the lower upper portion of the chin. But okay, I guess it's a beard, it's there, but it's very different from what I've seen depicted in these reproductions, which are more familiar to me. Now this is interesting because it's actually a painting by Leonardo da Vinci of Jesus. The same position, same expression, looking in the same direction. And look at this. He has no beard. And okay, well, his mouth is closed. So maybe this is how Da Vinci in this reality has painted the Last Supper, with Jesus having no beard. This is a change, in my opinion. That's what it is today, as painted by one of his pupils. So that pretty much sums it up. Everything that I've noticed change in the past just couple weeks for me. I don't know what other people are going to think about this. There's probably going to be a lot of controversy and probably a number of different opinions about what people have seen over the years. Let me know, because I know what I've seen change, and the most glaring detail is these windows in the background, this bright scenery in the background of a mountain landscape, and his now open mouth expression as he's speaking in the painting. That and these wine glasses, these are all very new for me. And that door cut in the table, nobody else has really covered that in their coverage of this painting except for Eva. So it's almost as if some people cover the chalice missing from the table, but they don't even register that this doorway has been cut in the painting. And maybe that's new for them too. So let me know what you think about this. How much of this painting has changed in your opinion? And when did you see this? Because now the most important detail of all of this is that once upon a timeline, her channel, Eva's video, is 8 years old. This isn't new. So she saw the same progression of changes 8 years ago. And I'm seeing the same progression of changes over the past less than a year. So this is nuts. It makes me look delusional. This is definitely not to the people that I know, because they won't agree with this. But to all my fellow, schizos and flakes out there, which we would be labeled as, what do you think about this? Thanks. See you in the next video.